All right, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in for my Wednesday D10 readiness bit stream. So I'm going to be working on the Drupal-static-autoloader, which is splitting out a bunch of code from PHP stand Drupal. And the idea is that it allows doing static file autoloading from the Drupal site. Without this, there's certain functions that can't be discovered, and it breaks PHP stand or other static analysis tools that are pointed at Drupal code. And the idea is to split it out of PHP stand Drupal so that way tools like Rector can use it, or Psalm, or Fan, or other who knows what kind of tools could be used to load Drupal code and read and do a few things. So I have a few issues I want to keep working on. Right now it has a pretty good amount of support. So if we go into the test, I'm going to clear out a few things. So if we go into our auto load test, I worked on this. I did a stream maybe 2 weeks ago now, where I have one class that tests auto loading, and I have one, or I guess I have one test that ensures we can load Drupal, and then I have a test that runs against various data providers. So in this test, it tests exists. The exist function needs to be one of class, trait, interface, or function exists. It registers the autoloader and then ensures that it can be autoloaded. Pretty simple. Because inside it, well, pretty simple with some quotes, if you will. Because inside of Drupal, inside of core, we have the composer.json, and it only defines these namespaces and then this class map. So a lot of the other items aren't included by Composer. Like all of these include files, only the bootstrap.inc, and I found out that this was recently added either in Drupal 9 or in 8.9. So we have an autoload test that ensures that functions in core includes are loaded in the .module file. .theme, because all of the extensions are also dynamically added to the namespaces and auto loading on Drupal's Bootstrap. And I ran this and it passed. So now we're going to work on some more integrations. Close my calendar. So I made some issues for myself. I'm not sure exactly how far I need to go still, but I tracked these down. So add comment hook include files. So in PHP stand, we know there's several hooks that specify that they can be dynamically loaded via include files. So let's actually go look at this function call, because not many may be familiar with this, especially if you don't do Drupal. But there's even some Drupal developers who didn't know you could do this. So you can define hook info, and inside of hooks you say that it's this hook name and the group, and that means that you can then create a my module dot tokens dot inc. So it creates this format right here, module group dot inc. Well, that is nested in there. So you looked at, let's see, node defines tokens. So I side node, you'll see we have node.tokens.inc.views and views execution. Commonly, Search API and Path Auto also provide instances of hook info. The one bummer is that we can't really dynamically parse this and know what functions exist. There might be a chance, actually. We might be able to determine this. Actually, maybe we should do that. Right now, I have PHP stand open as well. And PHP stand Drupal, rather, because I have these for reference. So right now it's a hard-coded array, but we could possibly find all modules that implement this hook and call it directly instead of having this hard-coded list. Because we have bugs here, right? There's bugs, there's undiscovered code. So why don't we try manually finding all the functions that implement this hook and load these properly. Yeah, if file exists, module name. Yeah, let's go for that. So what we're going to do is let's go into the module namespace, not extension. We want to look at, maybe it is under extension, module handler, and we want to find out what invokes a hook. Build hook info, get implementations. So get implementation info. So in here, it builds the implementation info. This get hook info. Oh, okay. So build hook info calls that one hook. Build hook info for each module list. So this is what we can do. We can recreate this code. We don't want to directly invoke the module handler because we don't have a database, and this requires having a database available. So inside our autoloader, we can loop through all known modules and copy this code. So why don't we try that? Let's see. Let's go to the autoloader and kind of review. You don't read from that. Maybe that can be deleted, but that will be for another day. So register extensions module. So let's do that. So inside registering the extension, we validate the type. Drupal core only supports module, theme, profile, and theme engine. This is just some validation on my end. This auto loads the suite names. Okay, so here we find all the extensions. We add its namespace. This comment here is confusing. I'm gonna move it to a constant. I'm gonna do private const unit test suites. I'm moving it because even like coming back to reread this code, it's like, why is this here? Why does this matter? So if we move it up, we elevate it up into there and copy the comment for now. So the suite names for each self. There we go. I feel now this reads a little bit better to me. So for each extension, we register its namespace, and then we register its test namespaces and test traits, and then we load the extension. So after we load the extension, this is when we should process the same code as, not here, inside module handler. So function. Yeah, so we're going to copy this line here. And we'll say hook info function is extension name dot. The only problem is that it only works for modules. So we should make sure we don't accidentally, what if somebody has it in a theme, but it really won't be invoked? So we should say if, sorry, the face is because profiles are kind of treated like modules as well. So if type is equal to, well, module, we'll just say module. Like, I don't know why anybody would define this in their profile. They could, but we'll just say here we'll do a at to do profiles are treated. Well, we'll add it. We'll add it. Profiles are treated like modules. So or type is equal to profile. Again, just in case you haven't caught the streams before, I use PHP Storm, and I have an extension called Deep Association, and it actually reads the usages from where I've defined type. That's one reason I have this code right here, and it auto completes it for me based off of this validation here. Really handy. So I'm going to move this into here. So hook info function. We'll do if function exists. I feel like this actually isn't right. We almost need to run this after we process all the extensions and then reload. So right now, the problem here is that we are processing this as we go through all the functions. And I guess we'll have to loop through again all the extensions once we need to gather this. We're right now we're gathering all the extensions and creating the namespaces. And then I guess we're collecting the hook info, but then we'd have to run over again to find those functions and load the code. So let's see. And we can't call this until after we load the extension, because this load extension calls extension load, which registers the .module file, which is where the hook info is existing. All right. So we're going to create a new, we're going to call it hook info implementations. I'm going to say tracks implementations of hook info for loading of those files. So we're going to have to go over the extensions array twice, because first we're registering namespaces and finding the hook implementations, and then we're going over again to see if any of those modules have these hooks or have any of these files that are declared. So if there, sorry, we got tab over, so results. So we're going to copy this code. And real quick, I'm checking my dependencies. So right now, we made I don't have any dependencies on Drupal itself for this plugin, for this package. It just requires it as a dev dependency. I could change part of that because sorry, I need to minimize this. So I try to use part of a class that's given by Drupal core inside of Drupal utility, but luckily this is a subtree split, so I can do a composer require. Oh, and it requires Drupal core render. What's in here? Formatable markup. All right. Before I go down that rabbit hole, let's just take a step back. I don't need anything else from module handler. So if it's a module or a profile, we check if the function exists. If it exists, we're going to call it to get the result. If is set result. That seems not ridiculous, redundant, because we only care if it's an array and not null. So this hook info, we're going to say it's actually the hook info implementations. So it's going to merge deep our arrays. Now let's get to the root problem here. Is nested array is provided by Drupal core. I don't have dependencies on Drupal core for this. Reasons being, it can cause conflicts because I'd have to support 8, 9, and 10. I don't want to actually make it a dependency of this. It's just something that works with Drupal. So merge deep does a self merge deep array. And I really don't want to have to copy any of this code. So I guess I'm just going to make this a dependency of it. So if we go to this, anything that's inside of core lib Drupal component, anything in component, all of these are subtree splits into their own package. So that way you can actually use some of Drupal's goodies without having Drupal. So we take the utility. Let's go to the composer.json, wherever it is in here. And we're going to copy this out. Actually, I want to look at it on packages just to make sure. So you'll see here, that's interesting. It's not, I don't know. So I see a bug here, where it says requires Drupal core render 8.8, but we're in 9.2. I feel like the subtree split didn't update the dependent version. And I don't know if it's going to let us require it, actually. So I just want to check something real quick in the development trunk. We go to lib, Drupal component. Let's go to utility and find composer.json. 1 year ago, what issue modified this? Bump minimum PHP version for Drupal 9 to 7.3. Let's do a blame to annotate the changes. There's this commit. Update core dependencies to 8.8. All right, we'll see if this works. Part of me feels like I'm not going to be able to require it because I currently have Drupal 9 installed. If we do a composer show Drupal, oh, actually, I don't even need to do that because PHP Storm's showing it for you. So you see I have 9.1.8 installed. So let's try composer require this. Composer update, nothing to modify or install. I wonder if that's due to the fact it says it's not installed, but that's because, oh, this could be messy. Is inside composer.json. There is the replace method where it's saying that it replaces here. So it's telling, by having this as a dev dependency, Composer is already saying that it's installed and discoverable, which it technically is. And I still feel like there's going to be some kind of version conflict for somebody who adds this with, maybe not if it replaces the version. We didn't have an error, and this is going to get included into a Drupal site, so maybe it won't be a problem after all. I'm just going to copy these same constraints and run update. And I kind of broke my own rule. I started doing this without writing a test, but we'll just, I'll deal. So now we're collecting all the hook info implementations. I'm curious to test this out. So while my computer lags due to indexing and streaming, we're going to say for each, actually, I'm going to do a, I just want to do some debugging right off the bat. So let's go. I'll write the test now, right? I got this far. I didn't write the test. I'm just going to stop and write the test. So we'll go to node and I'm going to go to the tokens. There we go. So basically I want to make sure that this function exists. So if I go to autoloader, actually, and views Inc. All right, so let's close this. Go to my test, autoload. This is actually just a provides functions. Like we want to make sure that this function exists. So we're going to do hook info autoloading, and we'll do yield function exists. We want to make sure that function exists along with this node views query substitutions. Oh, I closed out the wrong one. What was it? Node.views.inc and node views analyze. All right, we want to make sure that all these load. So if I run the test, we should get 3 failures, which we did. If I uncheck all the past, great. That's what we expected because we know I didn't implement any of this yet. So I'm going to right click here and I'm going to do debug. So that way I can get xdebug the hook here. Now let's look at hook info implementations. There's actually quite a few of them. So as we'll see, now group, we have group tokens, views. I want to see if there's a way that we can flatten this to just, well, actually we can. So result. See, I wonder if we should do it there or after. I'll do it after. So that way I can have module handler. Because what I want is I want to right click. I want to copy the reference. See, so that way we know where this is copied from. Mimics the build hook info method in the module handler. All right, and then how does it go? So build hook info, get hook info. If is set hook group, then it loads the include function exists. So that checks if the hook is implemented. We need to just go through. So we'll end up doing for each hook implementations as, oh yeah, we need to know the hook name. Or not really. So I kind of want to simplify this a bit. We do not need the full array structure. We only care about the group name for loading files. So I'm going to put a breakpoint here because maybe we don't need this merge deep after all. So in the result, wherever it is, there it is. We have these 4 hooks. So let's try this. Groups equals array map, static function array, hook info, and we return the hook info group. And pass in the results. So I'm going to restart my test. Groups, we now have where the keys equal that value. So let's do an array values, not value, but values, and refresh. So now we just have all the values, and then we can do array unique. And if we refresh, we have one group. So let's do hook implementations. We'll append groups. I'm going to update my composer.json and delete this dependency because we don't actually need it anymore. I'll run update again. So the idea here is that we reduced it down using array unique, array values, array map. Maybe an array reduce would be better. No, because array reduce would make it be one value, and we might have an array of different groups in one file, like views, how views has views and views execution. Why there's 2? I don't know. There just is. And then at the end, we want to we will want to hook info implementations equals array merge. We want to group all these together. So the ellipsis, or the 3 dots, will unpack the arguments. So it's actually right now hook, and I'll just do a breakpoint. I'm going to walk through it. So if I hit debug, so hook info implementations is actually going to be an array of arrays. So what we'll do is this is going to unpack this and actually pass each array as its own argument to hook info input to array merge, and hook implementations is now a flattened array. So we'll do for each hook info implementations as hook info group. So if I do a stop equals null here and put my breakpoint, so we've got the hook info group as tokens. So then we'll do for each extension as extension, and that's an object if I remember correctly. Yep. So we'll do, where's extension name? Oh, that's how. So maybe extensions we'll do for each array keys. We're just going to do an array key for each array key as extension name. And if we go back to module handler, we don't actually want to call this load include. Take it back. We need the full load extension. This load. I'm going to copy this line here. Paste it, so include once. Extension. Root. Oh, is that a private method inside of there? Or it's root protected, and yeah, it's not exposed. So we have to do, I lost my track of myself. So we need to do this Drupal root on extension get path, which I believe we have here. Let me reopen the module handler. Implements hook. So load module name. It is extension name dot hook info group dot include. This feels really, so we need to change this include once to include file name. Or just say include file if file exists. Include file, include once, include file. All right. So we can do that. So Drupal root. You know what? I think there's going to be bugs in here too for Windows users, because I'm not using RealPath on any of these. So I'm just opening an issue. I think it shouldn't be a problem. There was something with Drupal check that was causing problems. Verify past work for Windows users. I think PHP handles this on its own, but we'll see. So, all right, I'm going to put a breakpoint here again. Actually, no. I'll put it there. And we're going to say condition extension name is node because we know node has an example. So let's run our debug again. All right, so we've got node and tokens is the group. So the include file should be modules node tokens.inc, which should exist. It does. Include file path tokens. And just going through more statistics.token. If I step into it, we'll see that this file is now loaded and I can hit play. Oh, it's going to keep going. So if I hit play, let's just run the entire file, and it passed. Or rather, that one function passed. So let's do this. Let's run it, and we're golden. So this is already an improvement over PHP-Stan, which has a hard-coded loading of those files. We now do it dynamically by finding all of the modules that implement build hook info. So we'll say iterate over hook info, hook info implementations, and load those files. All right. So I'm going to commit that. And we'll do autoload common git hook files. I'm going to do it. I'll be proper. And I'm going to make a branch. Do new branch. Autoload hook info files. So review my diff. You can remove that unused statement. I'm hitting the command D key to be able to get to the diff easily. So I moved that for some readability. There. All right. That looks good. But what I need to actually do is run, save myself some headache and run PHP code sniffer. No errors, and run. I don't have PHP-Stan on because I knew that would be a lot of things that need to be fixed. All right. Or at least, I don't know why I turned it off before. Oh, I turned it off because the Drupal code that I copied had a lot of errors. So why don't I actually, for here, run on all of source once Drupal code cleaned up. So I'll actually just run it against source autoloader.php because I at least want my code to be analyzed and cleaned up. No errors. Perfect. Let's bump it up to level 1. Totally bleeding the scope of this merge request, but keep it there. So autoload common hook files, and this fixes 2. So we're going to push it, and then do github pr create. Oh, I forgot to commit the change for things. Oh, I can quick fix that. Edit the body. Yep, fixes 2. Submit. I forgot to git add GitHub, not git ignore, GitHub workflows. I'm ignoring my composer.json right now because I have Drupal 9 as a dev dependency and it won't work, and you need to have PHP stack. You need to have this, the prophecy PHP unit trait, for it to work. And I don't want to actually commit that because this library needs to work with Drupal 8 and 9. But if I just did git add, so git status, git commit AV. AV is all that were staged. Oh wait, and I don't want all. So abort, git commit. V is verbose. So that way I can go through with verbose, you can see a preview of your diffs inside of Vim. And actually, I don't even want that. I want to do git amend. I want to amend my commit and do a force push to keep it clean. So let's look at the pull request. I'll wait for the test to pass. So now we've improved the auto loading. So this fixed. So far, this has already fixed up some code, actually a lot of code that's inside PHP stand Drupal, specifically here. So instead of it being a hard-coded list, it now is dynamic and works for more config, or not config, more contributed modules. Let's see. The module directory .install and post update.php. I guess those are two things that aren't covered yet. So I'll want to make an issue for that. So let's do a new issue. Autoload.install and .post update.php files. For those who don't know Drupal or are still new to it, .install contains things that run on install, and it's basically schema. Anything that involves schema changes goes into .install. Post update are things to do that run after schema updates and are like configuration based or clearing caches. Right? Let's see if that pull request passed. No, it failed. And this is why I still make a merge request or pull request, so that way I can see where things broke. Because it passed for me. Array merge expects at least one parameter, 0 given. Autoloader 127. Why was it empty? Argument. So at least one parameter, 0 given. So this is saying that there was an empty array. In all of it. And that's on 9. And this is the same thing. Well, how could that be? How could it? Let's see. So if function, so I guess one thing we can do to prevent, so if count is greater than 0, so if we have more than 0, try to run this operation. But the thing that has me more confused is why there was no values when it should have had a value. So line 71. Oh, once we start viewing themes. Oh, why didn't this error out locally? So yeah, I see. So it broke when we started to analyze a theme because themes don't have hook implementations, and I was unpacking an empty array. So that makes sense. Do not unpack an empty hook info array. All right. So what it was trying to do to help explain this error a little bit more. So right here, array merge, and I'm using the 3 dots, the ellipsis, for unpacking an array. And this is assumed to be an array of arrays. And when we do array merge with unpacking, it flattens them. But I was passing an empty array, so when it unpacked, it was null. It's like when you do, when you run reset on an empty array and it returns false. So think of it that way, like array merge, when I was doing, if you do this, you're going to get back null because there's nothing to unpack. It's empty. So that was the bug that was happening when it ran on themes. So if I go back to the conversation tab, which should show the 2 commits, we now have passing tests. Great. And I'm actually kind of curious to run. So PHP R, we're going to do var export dash dash dash. Var export expects at least 1 parameter, 0 given. Say foo equals. I want to see if this will do it too. Oh, I probably need to escape that. So yeah, so it was coming back as an empty or null when we we're unpacking it. And if I did I'm also just doing this horribly in the command line. So there, we unpack it. Now let's change this to just foo is an empty array. So it still came back with an empty array. I don't know why it was erroring out though. But it's working at least. That's what matters. All right, refresh, we're all good. I'll do a merge. All right, 1 step closer. So new issues. One item that somebody had added before was when there was drush commands. Some things in drush were not working properly, so I don't know the best way to test this. So I guess we just have to wing it. So if drush version is less than 9, so there were issues with drush 8, which I don't know if anybody's still using drush 8. I don't want to cause a regression, so I guess I'll have to copy this. So let's just start by kind of by going through it and seeing what needs to fully be done. All right, so I updated main. So I'm up to date there. And do I have drush? I do have drush added. I have it added as a dev dependency. Perfect, which we are on 10. So I'm not even allowing drush 9 to be tested. What about in PHP stand Drupal? Composer. Oh, the tests are failing. So drush 9. Okay, so oh, that's for dev. That's required dev. Sorry, I'm gonna just quick pop over here and see why this is failing. That's too much to go through right now. All right. So let's get drush support added. So drush, it looks like there's an include inside the drush folder. So, oh, sure enough, there's includes. And if we look at composer.json, there is what am I looking for? I'm looking for the autoload. So we have an autoload for drush internal, source internal forks. What is that? Okay. Unish. So we do not have anything, man. So none of these includes are in the composer.json autoloader. So that's where we will have to write the code for it. So in our autoloader, where do we do it in PHP stand Drupal? Close out these old tabs. So if we go to source, we go to Drupal, autoload, drush, it runs it after it sets up the theme data. So we'll go do that. I'm just going to copy this verbatim. And so we have register, we register the extensions, we register the test namespaces, which is for core. So we'll do, to keep up with the fashion of everything kind of being encapsulated, we'll do this register drush includes, because we have load legacy includes up there. So we'll call this load because we're not registering anything. We're loading, load, add method, paste it in there. Let's look here. So in the PHP stand Drupal, we're using the net framework for finding files. When I copied some code here from how core does it, or core does it, or something else does. So what I'm thinking is I should move this into a helper file for loading legacy include files dynamically. So we would say do load includes by directory, which we need to replace the method of load legacy includes. So private function. So what I'm doing here is now I'm going to just have this call load includes by directory and pass in this folder name and give it a parameter of directory, global identifier. We want to change that, I guess. Well, not I guess, we need to. We're going to rename this check if the file is added as an auto-loaded file in a composer.json file. So it tries to prevent it from re-requiring it, even though it's at require once. The idea is to try to prevent bugs or just try to mimic auto-loading as real as possible. So we need this to actually be Drupal core includes. We need this this autoload identifier to match. So it's not just directory, it's we'll call it string package. So the package is Drupal core. And we'll rename this to be, I want it to be called absolute directory. We'll call it the absolute path. And that means we can put this here and do, so if package includes, in the case of Drush, they luckily have it at just includes. So we'll map it the same way. Even though they don't have anything parted as their autoload includes, but maybe they will eventually, and this will cover it. All right, so load legacy includes, we're gonna move load drush includes to be reflect file name levels. Okay, so drush directory. So now we'll do this load includes by directory, and it's drush, and we'll do drush directory. All right. I want to move this up a bit to here. And first up is I'm just going to rerun my test to see if I broke anything with this refactor, and it doesn't seem like I did. And now we will have to test loading. Let's go to batch. Let's go to bootstrap. Why not? I wonder if we need a test of constant defined. Let's do that. We're going to add that to our test. So autoload test. Let's do, what is it? Is it defined? So we defined. Yep. So let's add a new data provider of data provider. Data provider provides constants. Let's create the data provider, and this file is a mix of coding standards. So we'll do yield defined, and we'll pass that constant, and let's run the test, and it passed. Let's real quick remove, I want to do a negative test. Let's remove the drush load includes. All right, we got a failure. Defined drush is false, so let's turn that back on and run it. We're good to go. Let's pick an actual function name, not drush.inc. There we go. Drush log. That sounds good. Let's do that. Let's then do a function. Class is this. Call this drush. And then yield function exists. Drush log. We'll run out the test again. And we're green. So let's create a new branch. Call it drush autoload. Let's reread my diffs real quick. Looks good enough to me. That, and let's drush autoload includes, say, fixes. So one reason if you're not familiar with GitHub, which I feel like almost everybody is, you can type fixes or closes and then the issue number, and when I push, so by tagging it, let's see, usually this updates pretty quick. So by taking the issue, it shows that it's referencing in it, and this commit closes. So if this commit gets merged into the main branch, it's going to close this issue automatically. So now I'm going to do another pull request, and by also having it in the body of a pull request, that will do it as well. As you can see, the fixes is red and knows that it will close something. So wait for the jobs to finish. And I think this might almost be ready to integrate into PHP stand Drupal. I need to figure out, the one thing is around the service YAMLs and class providers, like that stuff needs to be removed. This is fixed. Go and catch errors. Maybe this, oh yeah, this doesn't exist yet. Loading the .install and post updates. This was fixed though. Theme data, processing the service YAMLs. We can go through that. All right, I guess the one thing that is missing is we don't expose the extension discovery. So PHP stand Drupal needs to know what are the modules that are available and themes, and we have this as private because it allows manipulating after scanning. Scan directory, sort. Yeah, we basically want to just expose the scan, which we've done here, this extension discovery, profiles, set, scans it. So what we'll probably need to do is expose the scanning of the different types. So that way integrators can receive those extension types. So why don't I make an issue for that? Or I guess we know we're going to need that, which means we can abstract away this line and this line in called get extension by type. So let's do that. Allow retrieving, allow accessing the list of discovered extensions. And I want to see if there's this, get profiles from settings. We have no more cache in here. Oh, wait. I feel like some of this needs to get removed. The site path. Do we always pass a site path? No. So there might be some more work that needs to go into here. So scan. Search directories include tests. There's still scan directory, sorts weight, this process files. Yeah, we don't have any kind of static cache in here. And that would be a good idea to do. No, yeah, we do. Sorry. Search directories. If not is set, discover all extensions in a directory unless we did already. Okay, so it has static cache. So we will work on that next. And Drush includes PHP-CS. There we go. Line 51. Go figure, I didn't run it. Autoloader. Line 151. Line 155. All right. Let me run PHP-CS again locally. Ugh, sorry. No space found in comment and argument list on 153. It's probably here. So this is neat with PHP Storm when it shows you, and I think VS Code does this as well. It shows you the name of the parameter. And this is super cool when you do like named parameters and languages like Flutter, or I think PHP 8 will have named parameters, but I always miss my spaces. All right. So let's look at the cache diff, which should be just a name. Yep. So I'm going to just do an amend to clean up my commit. Do a little force push. All right, we'll wait for those checks to go through. And I want to keep looking through the old autoloader. So one is allow accessing list of discovered extensions, because we need that so that way it can find the service class providers. The theme namespace is PSR4. So I think we're actually really close to be able to integrate this, which means I need to register it on packages. So just wait for this. One last one to go. Awesome. Let's merge. And you'll see that one issue is now closed. So we'll autoload.install and post update.php files. Again, I'm going to update. And let's find some examples. So if we go to the fixtures, core, modules, how about layout discovery? Let's do post update. All right, so let's look at this here. So if you're not familiar with this hook, this was added for this was added as part of Drupal 9 to say, like, we deleted these files or these update hook entries. And I'm guessing it's saying at what Drupal core version or what version of the module it was removed. So in this case, these two post update hooks were deleted in version 9.0.0. I'm curious if we can find the docs on it. So yeah, return an array of removed post update hook functions. This should be used to indicate that they have existed in some previous version of the module, but no longer available, aka they're probably not required. It has to be placed in post update.php, the first stable version in which the update was removed. So let's see if this can be auto-discovered, which isn't really a thing that, like, this is an example that needs to, but it's in a post update.php. Let's actually open the node. Let's open something different, because that code's not going to exist in Drupal 8, which means that the Drupal 8 workflow will break. And in that case, I don't know if anything has old hooks like that. Here we go. Hook requirements is one thing that's in .install. So again, we can go to the autoload test. This is why I really love data generators, is I have one method and it's testing all these different things. So provides functions, brush, we've got module.install. So yield function exists. I just wish there was a way to like automate having to say like what is the exist function, but sorry, apparently I need a nap. I keep yawning. So node requirements. If I play it, we get a failure. It doesn't exist. I know that one will always persist. And let's look at post update. Removed post updates. Let's see here. This is where things are going to get really hard to test on Drupal 8 and Drupal 9. Actually, let's change this to 8.9. I think I have a workaround actually. So let's copy this code and we'll add it here somewhere. There we go. So this actually will dynamically, we'll only run this if it's Drupal 9, because that's when it was added. And we're going to add an else. And we're going to pull one from 8.9.x module core modules. Post update. So based off of what's in here, if I copy this, this is a function name in here. So let's do that. So else. There. So we're saying if we're greater than or equal to 9, run here. It's probably going to fail on Drupal 10, but we're a year away from that, so we'll let it fail, I guess, when that day happens. So if I run the test now, we should have 2 failures. One that node requirements doesn't exist, and that the update hook does not exist, or the post update hook. So let's go register those. Again, this should be fairly easy. We already have the code. .install. So it should go, we'll put it right after this load extension. Load schema and post update files. So why did we ignore this? Entity test install. Oh, that's why. Because it does this and this breaks everything. Um, I believe this does. Oop, I believe this does too because it has all. Well, this doesn't have one anymore. Entity test schema. Those are removed. Well, I'm gonna keep those warnings. So if so, yeah. So if file exists, we'll do path. Let's change this to extension path is there. Where's this path used? Oh, we have a bug here. Um, there, we're going to be explicit. So we'll be explicit about that. We've got the extension path, which we can put here. And we can do that there. So this was registering the test namespace incorrectly, which means provided classes. Before I fix this, we'll go back and we'll do I'm gonna copy that class name and we're going to add it to the test because this wouldn't have loaded properly. So we have extension path. We add it as a PSR. We fix that there. The trait directory, test directory, source traits. That's explicitly added. So if file exists, extension path dot and then extension name install. These are ignored as they cause crashes. So then we'll do require once. It's extension name. So copy that. And then we got to do the same for post update. Post update.php. So now if we run the test, everything should pass, but it didn't. Class exists, system functional batch page test. Oh man. Let's see. I want to fix this now. So for each Test suite. So we should have test system, then functional, right? So functional